I looked at all of them last night, and I obviously did not have enough time to read through them carefully, but I did look through all of them, and I really enjoyed them, looking at them. I actually have I have a question that I want to ask at least the Marathi speakers, and it came up in at least two of the discussions. So this was in the report by Damayanti Tiwari and by Mukta Datte, and it concerns the status of the second plural clitic. So I'm now going to say that the S form that you get in the second singular, that is a clitic. That is coming by a device that is not regular agreement. That is distinct from regular agreement by the simple logic that regular agreement, as far as we can tell, you cannot regularly agree with an ergative subject. Okay, so let me bring up an example. So one point is that this S-clitic seems to appear irrespective of tense, tense aspect combination. So ergativity, as we know, or at least the transitivity related ergativity, only appears in perfective tenses, but this S-clitic appears throughout. Okay. If you're looking at it in non-perfective tenses, you don't know what's going on, right? You don't know whether that S is coming due to regular agreement or whether it's coming due to some other kind of process. Let's call it clitic doubling. Okay. But the instructive cases are the perfective tenses. In the perfective tenses, what happens is that you get object agreement, and in the first person and the third person, you don't get any agreement with the subject. But in the second singular, you get this ending at the end, which is S. Okay, so that is an interesting situation where you have, so I think, actually I'm not sure, one important research question is, this pattern that we are seeing in Marathi, is it related to the pattern that we see, that I pointed out to you, that we see in Kachhi Gujarati and Marwari and so on, right, where you get these two paths of agreement. But there, it's the question is, these two paths of agreement that we are seeing, I'm not sure that they're really, just restricted to second person. In fact, they probably are not, otherwise it would have been reported as such. So you want to know what's going on there. But the instructive examples, let me see if I can find the example. So it will be something like, okay, and I think if I replace, this is masculine, right? Right? If I replace it with, this is mango, but this is feminine, and then we will get pahilis, right? So what we think is happening is this, but okay. Then if we convert this to plural, and then you get tumhi, amba, and kairi, and now you will end up getting pahilat, pahilit. Okay. So again, this is going like this, and then there is regular agreement here. What's interesting though is this form, this T ending, you also get in the third plural. Okay, the question is, so now here it really looks like what's going on is that this T is a clitic, right? It's a clitic of basically the same sort as the S clitic. So question number one, and this is not, I did not quite see this in the data in either of the two. What would happen if you were to replace to me with a third plural? They will go away. Okay, so that is beautiful, because what you see is superficially, when you look at non-perfective tenses, it is very tempting to write down the agreement to say, look, second plural and third plural are the same because they have the same forms. But the in the third plural agreement paradigm is real agreement, is part of the usual phi agreement, while the that you get here is part of the clitic paradigm. Okay, so there is a plural clitic which happens to look very much like, and you can imagine that in other paradigm that speakers might possibly misanalyze them, right? Because it's very tempting to think like, look, it's the same form as in the third plural, why not just see this as a kind of agreement? But here, this is a place where it's interesting to see cross-linguistic or cross-dialectal variation. So Damayanti has described the variety of Nashik, and in that variety, what is happening is that this S form, so again, let me, I think the data, we need to look at the data more carefully, but the first level cut description is that in that variety, the S form is dropping away, okay? And from talking to a number of people, including Aditya and others, like I've learned that this might be a generational thing. It may not be purely a dialectal thing. It may even have many aspects of variation have multiple dimensions, right? So you might have a regional dimension and you might have an age-based dimension. So there might be areas of the state where a particular change may be more advanced. So what I learned was like, so in Iceland, right, where it's a very small country, only to 30,000 people or so, and it's also very, there's not that much regional variation, so these days they study age-based variation, because that is also a very real kind of variation. So maybe that is what's going on. But what is quite interesting in the data that Damayanti has is that this form is not going away. Which is really, really puzzling to me, which is, so one thing I'm curious is, what is not going away? Like, is it the case, because what we've seen right now is, suppose this was a non-perfective tense, right? Suppose this was a case where you had subject agreement. What if the has been reanalyzed in the Nashik variety as a non-clitic, right? That it has just become regular second plural agreement, right? Then you would expect it to survive. Then what might, so what is, there are two possible ways to go when you're analyzing this. One is that what has happened is that they've just lost, the change is a very small morphological kind of change, which is they just lost the second singular clitic while keeping the second plural clitic. Or is it the case that what has happened is that the T, because of its identity with this, has been reanalyzed as an agreement marker, so it has been saved, while the S did not have such an analog. So what the language has lost is the clitic system, right? And as you can see, there's a sense in which the clitic system, I mean, it's not any more complicated than anything, but the clitic system is, it's an entirely different system on top of the agreement-based system. So you could imagine that once you lose the clitic system, then all clitics should go, not just the second person singular clitic, right? So one question to examine in the Nashik variety would be, in this environment, right, where you have this kind of double agreement, do you still have the th in that variety, or does the th vanish, right? So that would be what would adjudicate. So it's clear it's clear in the current in standard Marathi that this is functioning as a clitic, and the third person plural is not. That is just a regular agreement. Okay, so this yeah. Okay, so that's one thing to for the Marathi speakers, and in particular Damayanti, to figure out. If it turns out that what has happened is that the clitic is lost, then what you have is I think it's a more interesting picture where there were two subsystems and one variety either lost it or maybe never had it, just does not have that clitic, does not have the clitic system at all. And that's, I think, an interesting result. Okay, so any questions? Any? Yes.
As a Marathi speaker, when I speak, either I will say tu amba pahilas, तुम्ही आंबा पाहिलास, or I will talk both. Tu amba pahila and तुम्ही आंबा पाहिला.
Okay, yes. So at least you have a variety then where you can turn off the clitic system, right? You can turn off the clitic system and presumably, okay. And let me check one other thing. Let's change this to a non-perfective tense. So what, like the future maybe? I mean, maybe the future is funny. Yeah. Okay, and also plural to me. And to me amba pata. So okay. Okay, so it doesn't have the, so okay, so then okay, in that domain you could tell. But it looks like it may even be that in contemporary Marathi, maybe especially for younger speakers, the clitic system is already becoming an optional system. And maybe what would happen in the Nashik variety would be that the clitic system is basically gone, right? But then there might be an interesting difference between Nashik variety and the, let's call it standard Marathi, that it is possible that the Nashik variety might have reanalyzed the third ending in the second plural as just being a second/third person plural ending.
I have heard Damayanti using it even in the third person inclusive pronoun. We meaning P plus.
Right. No, but in the third person, isn't it? You mean with the perfective? No, but in the third person, that's a place where you would also use it in standard Marathi, right? Because it is like according to the data that you have, it is also a third person plural form for non-perfective. Yeah.
Even for the inclusive,
Second person, the inclusive would be there, right? Yeah. So. Right. Right. But in the going back to this, right? Like, so then the difference might be the Nashik variety might differ in an interesting way from the, let's call it the standard Marathi without clitic doubling, which is Nashik variety would also not lack clitic doubling, but in the meantime it would have reanalyzed the third ending as being not a general plural but a two or three plural ending. So the net result of this would be that in Nashik, you would think, right, that the Nashik variety would have like a greater loss of the clitic forms, but at least superficially they would end up using more clitic forms, even though they would not be clitic forms, right? And I think a lot of this stuff, this sounds to me like this could be a really interesting, very nice, compact, but nice research paper where you could basically look at rates of change. You could go and sort of record people and see how often they use these endings in different, and do like a combination of the kind of syntactic work that you're doing with some I mean, you'd have to probably work with a variationist sociolinguist, but you might be able to come up with very interesting results. So this area of dialect variation, sociolinguistics change, and formal syntax, I think this is a really fruitful area. So there is very interesting. So there's a very prominent British linguist, David Adger, who has done very interesting work on different varieties of Scottish English, combining sociolinguistic techniques and morphosyntactic techniques. And I think this is a place where we could do exactly this. Right? Okay, so that's so much for agreement. Let's come back to our handout. And please go to page 6, section 3. So a quick tour of negative polarity items in Hindi Urdu. Okay. So the first just a quick teaser. Here's a good negative polarity item. किसी भी, कोई भी. Okay. So 17 is किसी ने भी जॉन को नहीं देखा. So one interesting fact about negative polarity items in Hindi is that they can appear in subject position. And this is perfectly natural. Okay, there is not even a whiff of oddness about it. And this is different from English, because literally if you gloss किसी ने भी as anyone, then what 17 is saying is anyone did not see John. Okay, which is ungrammatical in English. You cannot say that. The best you could say is nobody saw John, but anybody saw John is not, anybody did see John is not. Yeah. And in fact, what we find is that in Hindi, negation can very freely take scope over subject quantifiers. So if you say कोई आदमी नहीं आया, then all else being the same, it's very easy to get कोई आदमी नहीं आया to mean कोई भी आदमी नहीं आया, that no one came. That is the prominent reading. In fact, you have to work extremely hard to get any other reading. If you say कोई आदमी नहीं आया, it really means no one came. I think you can force it to have another meaning if you put a gigantic relative clause on it. So something like कोई आदमी जो कि मोना को बहुत पसंद है नहीं आया था, इसकी वजह से she was sad. Okay, maybe I think you can make that work, but it's not natural. It's not the most natural thing. All else being the same, koi likes to take scope. If there is, koi does not need negation at all. So you can say koi आदमी नहीं आया था. No, so कोई आदमी जो कि सीता को पसंद नहीं है आया था, इसकी वजह से she was not happy. Okay, so that is good, but if you put it with negation, it likes to take scope under negation. This is different from English, where if you put in a subject indefinite, if you say a man didn't come, it basically means there was a man who did not come. It's very difficult to get the meaning no man came. I think it's more or less impossible. Yeah. On the other hand, if you say I didn't see a man, it's ambiguous. There was a particular man who I didn't see, or it's easier. So you could be saying that you didn't see any men. Both of those things are possible. So this is a distinction number one between indefinites, English and Hindi. In Hindi, negation takes scope over the subject, and Hindi allows for NPIs in the subject position. English, it doesn't. The trouble is that sometimes some indefinites can be in the scope of negation and subject position, and so then if you try really hard, sometimes some NPIs can be possible, but in general, so NPIs are not, you cannot license subject NPI with a negation, with a sentential negation. Okay. Yes, absolutely. So that is what I'm saying. So you are putting, you are agreeing that no man came, right? And then you are saying, koi aadmi nahi aaya, kuch auratein aayi. So that's fine. So the point is that all else being the same, koi aadmi really, if there is negation, koi aadmi likes to take scope under negation. So this is why very often, instead of saying, koi bhi aadmi nahi aaya, we just say koi aadmi nahi aaya. Because the bhi, it does not add that much. There's a certain sense in which it really disambiguates, because as I said, koi aadmi nahi aaya, if you throw everything at it, you can force it to take scope over negation. You cannot do that with koi bhi aadmi. Koi bhi aadmi will never take scope over negation. But in the normal state of affairs, koi aadmi does take scope over negation. So when you say koi aadmi nahi aaya, and then we'll talk about this, like what is being focused, right? So what you're saying is koi aadmi nahi aaya, but auratein aayi. Yeah. Okay. No, this is sentential negation. This is absolutely sentential negation. Koi aadmi nahi aaya. So this is, you are not negating. You can see this more clearly if you put in an object. किसी आदमी ने मुझसे बात नहीं की. किसी छात्र ने मुझसे बात नहीं की. Okay, so it's sentential negation. So so I want to look briefly at the paradigm of indefinites, of the koi indefinites. Yes?
Still a bit confused. So, यहाँ पे it sounds as though the coming has happened. It's just that the coming of the Admi has not happened. The coming of somebody else has happened.
I think it's a little bit silent. It doesn't. If you say koi nahi aaya, or koi, no, not koi nahi, koi bhi chhatra nahi aaya. Suppose, I'm not sure it. Right. No, let's just compare. Koi chhatra nahi aaya under the relevant reading, right? In fact, which is more or less the only reading. Koi chhatra nahi aaya and koi bhi chhatra nahi aaya. They mean more or less the same to me. It doesn't really.
Semantically, they do mean the same.
Yeah.
But somehow, if you just look at the structure, it sounds as though.
So you have the intuition that when you say koi chhatra nahi aaya, you are saying that maybe teachers came, someone else came.
So you're not.
No, but to the extent I get that, I also get that with koi bhi. So.
Say koi chhatra nahi aaya, I get a feeling that it is for open for all, and only the students came.
Okay, but.
Koi bhi chhatra nahi aaya, it's meant for chhatra, and they didn't come. Yeah, so
Okay, so I did not. I see. So if
koi bhi is modifying chhatra or ana, the whole whereas koi is modifying only admi. It seems that way. Practically, I know.
okay, so I don't actually have that intuition, but if that contrast exists, right? What you are basically saying is that koi chhatra nahi aaya is you are comparing it with other people, and you think that there is some kind of an implicature that some other people came, while when you are saying koi bhi chhatra nahi aaya, you're just saying no student came. You're not generating any kind of implicature about other people. Okay.
Koi bhi is modifying the entire event of chhatra coming, whereas koi seems to only modify admi or whatever, and not the coming.
Okay, so I mean, we will see when we look at the formal treatment whether we can sort of fit this somewhere. But let's hold on to this intuition, right? Which is that there seems to be some kind of a contrast between the plain indefinite and the NPI indefinite. Okay.
The international pattern will work
Mm-hmm.
Literature either will tell us whether we are technical.
Okay, no, thank you. So that might be super relevant here, because one thing we will see, at least in Lahiri's approach to NPIs, is that koi bhi forces a certain intonation pattern, right? While koi is neutral. Okay, so it may be that maybe that we will be able to pin the relevant difference on the intonation pattern. So okay. So here's let's just look, before we go into this, let's just look at some indefinites in Hindi. Okay. So it's going to be, I'm going to give you like a table. So basically, we'll do a range of things. So first we start with just plain someone, right? So you get someone singular. So let's do singular and plural. Okay. So someone someone will be koi. So koi aya, koi nahi aya. Okay. And the counterpart of koi, if you put any kind of case marker on koi, the oblique of koi is kisi, right? Kisi. So कोई आया, किसी ने मुझसे बात की. Okay. Any case, it's kisi is just oblique. It's the oblique of koi, and then it can combine with kisi ne, kisi ko, kisi me, any. So that's just the oblique. Okay. Then, so you have this. So this is just the plain. Now you can also combine this kisi. This koi can also combine with an NP, a singular NP. So koi NP singular. So koi ladka, koi ladki. And here, so this works perfectly fine. So you get kisi NP singular. We can also look at, so this is, then we can look at, okay. Now, there is an interesting difference between this and this, that if you say koi aaya tha, koi is someone, so it's plus animate, plus human. So this category is plus, I don't know whether it's plus human or plus animate. I'm not sure there's a clear distinction here. Plus animate, okay.
For example, bird watchers would use this for, there is some specific bird which has entered the window.
Right. So now, but when you go to, let's see, here, this koi is not marked for animacy. This is plus minus animate, because you can say, तुम्हारे पास कोई किताब है, मैंने किसी किताब में पढ़ा था, right? So this is unmarked for animacy. Now, how would you say minus animate? For minus animate, for something, kuch. We'll come to that. That's plural, so we are right now in the singular line. So kuch, what is Can kuch have an oblique? I'm not sure what the oblique of kuch is. There's kind of a gap there. Kuch hua, Ram ne kuch padha. You cannot say Ram ne kuch ko padha. No, because kisi is animate. I know, but if you don't use an NP, right? So there is koi, so there is a funny gap. There is no kuch plus kuch. It seems you can't put kuch in the oblique.